everyone. It's Khara Brindle here with my good friend Alex.
Hello.
We just did a Jungian, how would you describe this?
Archetypal reading.
Archetypal reading.
Yes.
And I just did one for the first time ever and asked Alex if it was okay to come on video because I feel like it was really powerful and I have a lot to unpack actually. I feel like it's kind of swirling in my head. But this is something that Alex does now. So I wanted you all to know what this is, what to expect, what you can learn more about, and of course, how to schedule with Alex because it's pretty cool. So mine was, just kind of talk about it briefly. Mine was pretty on point. Just the reading itself was interesting. You know me really well. So like Alex could add a couple things like, oh, this is what I remember about you. But I think for all of you, it could be really powerful to your work as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as therapists. Really, it's for anyone.
Yes,
right?
correct. And it follows the Jungian psychology of the outer world, the inner world, your soul work, and how there's certain ways we show up with personas, and how we show up in these different roles to reinforce our work, both in our personal life and professional life as well. And so it's not it doesn't foretell like the future per se, but it really does.
Right.
It does say a lot about how you are showing up in areas that you need to work on or integrate to be able to be better at what you do.
Yeah. So offline, I kind of described it to Alex as tarot meets Enneagram.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like either or both of these, this might be an exercise that's worth doing because it gives you some insight. And if you're feeling stuck, it might give you some direction. But I think my key takeaway is know my edges, which I think is always important to know how we're showing up, especially you and I as leaders.
Correct.
Like, oh, am I showing up authentically? Am I showing up in one of my shadows? So that all becomes more clear if you were to do a reading with Alex.
Yes. And there's also, I want to reiterate that there's things that show up in professional that have an intersectionality with your humanness as well. So things that, I see this in my work, but I also see this in my relationship, or I see this as a parent, and you start realizing there's that intersectionality that comes in, and it keeps you very mindful of how I need to be intentional and be very careful on how I show up and what energies are coming through, and how I'm either being too aggressive, too defensive, too offensive, and be very aware of the areas that I need to work on and how I show up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it can apply to all different roles in your life.
Correct.
Obviously, different populations might find this interesting. Talk to everyone about how you came into this work.
Yes,
I've been doing this for a while now.
Definitely. So I've been, as you guys know, I'm Jungian at heart. I love Jungian psychology, and I absolutely. When I went to Pacifica Graduate Institute, I started my PhD that I'm working on is Jungian and archetypal psychology, and I really believed in archetypes since I was a little kid through stories and metaphors, and we realized we all have our inner warrior, we all have our inner leader, and so when we start looking at archetypes, ever since I was a kid, I started noticing that it played a huge influence on how I show up and how I tap into it. And so when I started going to the Jungian Institute in Zurich, I started hearing more and more about archetypes and how people are tapping into the Rolodex of the unconscious. There's a Rolodex of archetypes in the unconscious and how it influences our healthy and unhealthy behaviors when we're in the shadow. And I started realizing this is working a lot with an addiction, criminal, delinquent behaviors. And so I started integrating and incorporating Jungian psychology, especially archetypes with trauma, archetypes with addiction, and clients were responding to it effectively, and they really enjoyed it, and they realized this is part of who I am, and it's really been a transformation in their recovery, transformation in their marriages, in their relationships, and in their jobs, in their professions. And so the more I started learning about it, the more I started applying it, the more I fell in love with it. And that's how I got into it. Yeah.
And I know from our reading today, it also ties into populations I serve, which is like workaholism, perfectionism, for folks that are struggling with busyness and overworking themselves, of course, are kind of the people I like to do this work with. High functioning anxiety, I could see applying to this, but all those roles of motherhood, entrepreneur, just the things that I kind of live in myself. So
yes.
I could see this also applying to financial therapy. So we might have another video coming at some point on that, because knowing your edges this way could be really helpful to having a better relationship with your money.
Correct.
What do you think?
Correct. I would agree 100%. Yeah.
So my little entrepreneur brain just said, oh, let's tag that for later.
Yes.
Let's talk about that too. But yeah, so tell people how they can talk to you more about this or do this with you.
If you want to set up an appointment, you can reach me at my website, transcendingconsultinggroup.com, and you can email me at Alex at transcendingconsultinggroup.com, or you can reach me and you'll put my information obviously online, and we can set up an appointment. And I will tell you it's an hour, because it's pretty much going into the outer world, your persona, your soul work, and then unpacking it as it comes up and how it shows up as well. And so it's an hour. If you want a little bit more, I can accommodate that as well. And so you can reach out to me, and then we can either do it via Zoom, or because I've been doing it via Zoom for people who live out of state, or I can do it in person here in Denver.
Yeah, I was definitely going to make sure you emphasize that. Like, you can be reached all these ways and do it virtually or in person.
Yeah, I've done it. I've been doing it now virtually ever since Costa Rica. When I went to Costa Rica and I did a lot of archetypal readings, a lot of people from other states have been hearing about it and now want me to do it. And so I've been doing it via Zoom, and they appreciate that as well.
Yeah, so I will definitely put Alex's information below this video for any of you who are interested. Like I said, I have a lot that I'm still thinking of, which is probably why you're seeing like my brain, it's probably showed up in how I'm showing up today, of like, there's so much there that I need to like write this down after we're done with our video, because I literally just finished my reading with Alex. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Hopefully all of you can experience it for yourselves, because I know we're all about self-growth and continuing forward. And you hear me say that all the time about knowing our edges. So that's part of the work. And I hope you'll take this opportunity with Alex.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. See y'all next time.